Melissa Griffin, a columnist who writes about San Francisco city politics. I'm also a member of the San Francisco League of Women Voters. I'm here today with the League and with SF Gov TV to have a discussion about Proposition D on this November's ballot.
Proposition D is a charter amendment that would change the way the city and current and future employees and elected officials share in funding their pension benefits. All employees would pay a minimum contribution. Proposition D would also require elected officials to pay the same contribution rates as city employees. Prop D would increase retirement contribution rates for most current city employees based on city costs, reduce retirement contribution rates and retirement benefits for future city employees, limit the cost of living adjustments to retirement benefits, and prohibit the city from paying any employee's contribution. There are two charter amendments regarding pensions on November's ballot, Proposition C and Proposition D. If voters approve both measures, only the measure with the most votes will become law.
I'm here with Craig Weber, the treasurer for the Yes on Proposition D campaign and a former member of the San Francisco Grand Jury. Mr. Weber, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you to the League of Women Voters.
Why is it that voters should vote for Proposition D?
Proposition D had its origin a year ago with Proposition B. The origin of Proposition B started with the grand jury investigation of the retirement system in San Francisco. I was a member of the grand jury for 2 terms, and during those 2 years, I worked with other members of the grand jury investigating the retirement system. We issued reports in 2010 and 2009, and with the expectation that public officials will pick up our recommendations and findings and propose legislation. There was only one public official in San Francisco who approached us and was willing to work with us in crafting legislation. And that was Jeff Adachi, the public defender. 115,000 San Franciscans voted yes on Proposition B last year. Very strong constituency, and we hope that those voters will be back and vote yes on Proposition D. The difference between Proposition C and Proposition D is basically in the cost savings. Proposition D will save taxpayers in excess of $400 million over the next 10 years, in excess of the cost savings of Proposition C. Proposition D was crafted with exempting lowest paid city workers from any increase in their contribution rate. And the rates that are part of Proposition D are progressive. And what that means is that the lowest paid city workers pay less and the highest paid city workers will pay more. Proposition D is also a disruptive force in city politics. There's a very strong special interest group that has fought against any pension reform in San Francisco, and that's labor. And we hope that the voters in San Francisco will look at Proposition D as in a positive way as a disruptive force to the status quo in city politics.
Opponents of Proposition D argue that it was not done in a collaborative manner. It was done unilaterally by a group of people spearheaded by public defender Jeff Adachi. How do you address their concerns that this was not more collaborative?
Well, I suppose, again, the origin of Proposition B and then Proposition D this year was the civil grand jury investigation. The civil grand jury is a group of 19 residents of San Francisco. We had a very diverse group of people on our grand jury, representing unions, representing retired people, representing middle class and minority groups. So we felt that it was representative. The fact that that this is a criticism is not valid in that the collaboration that the opposition has talked about really was a collaboration of special interest groups, labor gathering together to craft their own measure.
Opponents of Proposition D have alleged that even if it's passed, it'll be held up in court and perhaps never even implemented. How do you respond to those kinds of concerns about the legality of Proposition D?
I read the charter amendment, Proposition C. It's a 225-page document. Quite honestly, it was totally incomprehensible to me, and I'm familiar with legal documents. The Proposition D measure is 25 pages in length, very simple to understand and implement. I fully expect that both measures, either one that prevails in November, will be challenged in the court of law. Certainly the retired city workers who oppose Proposition C, and there are many, will bring a legal action against Proposition C if it does pass.
Thank you so much, Mr. Weber.
Thank you.
Up next, we'll talk to an opponent of Proposition D. I'm here with Tim Paulson, the Executive Director of the San Francisco Labor Council and an opponent of Proposition D. Mr. Paulson, thanks so much for being here. Why should voters vote against Proposition D?
Just a couple of minutes ago, I was telling everybody why people should vote yes on Measure C. I'm going to say that people should be voting no on Measure D because it's the exact opposite way of the way people should be doing business. This is the Scott Walker, Wisconsin initiative in San Francisco. It's bringing those values into this city. It was done with no input from the workers. It was put on the ballot because it was financed by Tea Party Republicans that have financed this and got $5 a signature to put this on the ballot. There were none of the city workers that were involved, none of the Board of Supervisors or the mayor were involved. It was just unilaterally put on. This was the Wisconsin way of doing things, and it does not accomplish what it says it's going to do. I've been told that it's actually legally challengeable, and if it did pass, which I'm asking everybody to vote no on, just like we did on the successful Measure B campaign, that there's going to be legal challenges to it and it will not accomplish what it purports to do.
Proponents of Proposition D have said that it will save $400 million more than Proposition C. Why should voters not go with the measure that's going to save more money?
I think the whole process of Measure D was done without any input. Those numbers, I've been told, are way over bloated in terms of the numbers. I've heard that it probably does save just a little bit more money than what we did, but it was done in a vacuum, and it was done by the same type of Republicans that are attacking public workers in Wisconsin and San Jose and Pennsylvania and other areas around the country. It does not do what it says it's going to do, and it is not going to save that type of money. We worked with the city controller. We worked with many actuaries. We talked to our workers. We looked at major analysis, and everybody in San Francisco agrees that was involved in this process, and there are a lot of them, that this is the way in which the city is going to run better. It's still going to save money. It's going to save jobs, and it was done the San Francisco way. So yes on C, no on D.
Proponents of Proposition D also argue that it's more sensitive to the income levels of city workers because the increments that it uses to determine an employee's contribution are smaller than those used in Proposition C. How do you address that issue?
Well, it's a bogus argument. I mean, we're looking at people paying more when there is bad times and not paying as much when there are good times. It is sensitive to workers that make less than, the lowest paid workers in town are excluded from this, and police and fire end up paying more. It was done with a thorough analysis of the dozens of different employee organizations in the city. This is the right way of doing things on Measure D. Measure C, Measure D does not do what it's purporting to do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paulson. We hope you found that helpful. For information about this and other ballot measures, please go to the San Francisco League of Women Voters website at sfvotes.org. And remember, early voting is available at City Hall Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if you don't vote early, be sure to vote on Tuesday, November 8th.